What do you do when an heir is living in the house and refuses to leave? Hey guys, it's Brad from probateresource.com. Thanks for checking out this video. So Probate Resource, we're a real estate solutions company. We specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. Been doing it for a number of years. We're actually located in Metro Atlanta, but I actually buy houses all over the place. And like I said, I specialize in probate and inheritance properties. I'm also, if you're in Georgia, I'm a licensed real estate agent in Georgia with one source in Woodstock. So let's chat about dealing with an heir who is staying in the property. Okay, so we have encountered this from time to time where, let's say, mom owned a house and daughter moved in with mom maybe many years ago, maybe right before mom passed away, maybe mom got sick, daughter moves in, takes care of mom, and then mom passes away, and then daughter continues to live in the house for maybe a short period of time, many years, and all of a sudden you are one of the other heirs, or maybe you're the executor of the estate or the administrator of the estate, and you want to sell the property, and you need to sell the property because maybe there's debts owed by the estate, maybe some of the other heirs want their money, whatever, and this heir refuses to leave the property. Well, that can become very difficult, and we have seen it a number of different ways over the years. Sometimes it can resolve itself very easily. Sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated. Sometimes it'll drag out in court for a very long time. So how do you deal with that? Well, sometimes you're going to need to get legal help in this. And before you do anything, I would highly suggest that you, A, ask your probate attorney if you don't already have one, or B, consult an attorney about this. Do not take what I say as legal advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm just speaking from experience on doing many deals over the years and dealing with these situations. What do you do? Well, first thing you need to do were they a tenant in the property? So were they paying rent, or were they living there rent free? That's going to make a big difference, because if they were as a tenant, then you can basically give them, if they didn't have a written lease in place, you can give them a notice to vacate. And in your municipality or your state, there's different laws from state to state. Here in Georgia, you are required to give a 60-day written notice to vacate if you want a tenant who is a month-to-month tenant to vacate from the property. If they are on a written lease agreement, then you're going to have to sort of wait out to the end of the lease, or maybe you can ask them if they might be interested in leaving earlier and work out a deal with them to leave earlier. But if they don't want to leave, you can't really force them to leave if they do have a written agreement in place. They have the right to stay through the end of the lease. But if they are a month-to-month tenant, there's no written lease agreement in place, then you have to treat them like any month-to-month tenant and provide them the proper legal written notice. Many times it's required to be delivered by certified U.S. mail. It needs to be signed for and delivery confirmation so that you can confirm that they did in fact get the notice. So if that's the case, that's great. That's super easy. You can give them that, and if they still refuse to leave, you can go file for eviction on them because you've given them the proper notice. But if you are dealing with the case where maybe they have been living there rent-free, then it's going to get a little bit more interesting, and you're probably going to want to consult an eviction attorney before you go through that because you may have to file for a legal eviction. But here's what we do. Eviction is like a last resort, okay? And there are many cases where you need to assess the situation and figure out what that person really wants. Many times they've grown accustomed to living rent-free in a house, and they don't really want to move because now they have to go pay rent somewhere else, or they have to go buy a house or whatever. Why would anyone want to move out of a free situation? When the gravy train, you got a gravy train there, why would you want the gravy train to end, right? So you need to figure out what their gravy train is, and then also be reasonable with them and get everything in writing. Make sure that everything is in writing, whether in your particular state, whether you can record phone calls or not. Make sure you do your homework and keep track of these things. You may never have to use this information, but it's always a good idea to get everything in writing as you go, and ask them, hey, we need to sell this property, da 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 da, like you really need to move out. Hey, can you start finding a place? Make sure you're staying on top of them. Hey, did you find a place yet? Maybe you say, hey, I found these 2 places, this might fit for you. Sometimes some people need a little bit of a nudge, right? To get them to get moving. Otherwise they're just going to sort of sit on their laurels and not do anything. So maybe they need a little bit of help. Maybe it's a financial situation. Maybe they don't have the money to pay for a security deposit somewhere. Maybe their credit is bad, in which case if their credit's bad, you're probably gonna try to find like a mom and pop landlord who may not check their credit. Most of your major places, your property management companies, your apartment complexes, they're all gonna be checking their credit. More than likely, they're not gonna wanna rent to them if their credit's not any good. So you do wanna make sure that if they have bad credit, you're probably searching for the mom and pop landlord who might not be doing a credit check. Maybe that's your best bet. Or maybe they can be like a roommate with somebody else. Maybe that's the ideal solution. But sometimes, I know you don't want to, but sometimes if you ultimately want to get this house sold, you might need to do a little bit of help and kind of do the work for them. Don't do too much for them because, you know, as you know, you might have the sibling that sort of has an expectation of everyone has to do everything for them. So walk on eggshells there. Another thing is from a financial standpoint is, maybe you get with the other heirs and you offer a financial incentive where you say, hey, we'll pay for your security deposit, your move or whatever to move into this new apartment, and we'll just take that money out of your out of the proceeds from the estate that you're entitled to from the estate, and basically giving them an advance per se. Make sure you get that in writing though. You have to discuss that with all of the heirs. Make sure all of the heirs are in agreement with that and get it in writing. That might be an option where you could say, hey, we'll give you the couple grand or $3,000 or $1,500 or however much it is. And then once we sell the house, we'll just kind of take it off of, let's say they were supposed to get, you know, 20% of the estate. Maybe that's like 50 grand or something. You just take it off the top and that comes off there because a lot of times maybe they don't have the money right now. We do that a lot. We call it cash for keys for tenants, where basically we sort of offer them a financial incentive to say, hey, you know, if you can move out in X amount of days, we'll give you X amount of money. And, you know, that is sort of the incentive to get them out. It's almost like a bribe in a sense, but it actually works most of the time because really most of the time, these people, they're not moving for financial reasons. So maybe they need a little financial help to give them a little nudge to get out, right? So that is a potential solution there. And obviously eviction is your last resort. Don't try to do an eviction yourself. I would highly suggest that you consult an eviction attorney to make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. Because if you make any mistakes, you're gonna get before that eviction judge and the judge is gonna say, denied because of X, Y, Z, you didn't do X, Y, and Z, and it's denied. So it really is worth the money and the time to consult an eviction attorney to help you out with that. If you need a referral for an attorney, reach out to us. We can probably find someone in your local market. I have referrals. Even if you're not here in Georgia or in Atlanta, I've got people that I know all over the country that are friends of mine, business partners of mine, where we do deals in other states, and they have a go-to eviction attorneys that they deal with in specific markets. So feel free to reach out to us, and we might be able to point you in the direction of an eviction attorney who can help you. But that's sort of a last resort, is filing for eviction. It can get really messy, obviously. That can create rifts between family members because they feel, you know, that, oh, you evicted me out of mom's house and da-da-da-da. There's a little bit of a sense of entitlement there. It can get a little messy. I understand that. So I hope these helped you out a little bit, gave you some ideas as to how you might be able to get someone out. Because remember, it's either an emotional standpoint, maybe they just don't want to leave from an emotional standpoint, but many times it's really just financially related as to why they're not going to leave. So maybe if you give them a little bit of nudge, give them a little bit of help, as much as you don't want to do that, not getting them out of the house is going to cost you more money in the long run than it would be to just give them a little financial boost to get them out, right? So I hope this video helps you again. Hey, I'm Brad from probateresource.com. Thanks for checking out our content. We have a ton of other content. You can go on our YouTube channel here and check out all the other content we have around all things probate. And obviously go to probateresource.com. If you have a property you want to sell, we'd love to make you a fast cash offer on the property. So fill out the form on the website. Or if you want to talk about listing the property, like I said, I'm here in Georgia. I can list the property for you here in Georgia because I am a Georgia licensed agent. But if you're in another market besides Georgia, I've got agents that I work with all across the country. Be happy to point you to one of them and help you get that property sold. So thanks again for your time. Again, I'm Brad from probateresource.com. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.